Hey there, I'm your host Lesawi, and in today's video I'll be showing you how we can turn lights off and on using a switch which we'll make, and I'll be going over how to create a glowing light material. So just before we begin, let me demonstrate the first method. Is we can turn off and on all the lights that we spawn into the world. Method 2, we can select the switch and we can set which door we want to turn off and on. So for example, we can do the first door, the second door, or the third door. So let's do the third door. And if we save that and go over to the switch, only that third door will turn on and off. And the third method will be, we can select the switch and instead of having just a single door, we'll have an array. So we can select multiple doors. Let's do, for example, door 1, and we can also do door 3. Hit save and play. And if we go over to the switch, we can now turn the doors 1 and 3 on, and we can also turn them off. And with that said, let's begin. Let's begin by creating our own custom trace channel so we can use that to interact with our environment. So we'll go to our settings, we'll go to project settings, and over here, if we type out trace, we'll get this trace channels option and we can create a new trace channel. Now for the name, it's up to you. I'll call it interactive. And by default, we'll make it ignore and hit accept. So that's already done. And let's go ahead and create our interface in order to interact. So go to Blueprint and BP Blueprint interface. We'll call it BPI and we'll give it the name interaction. Inside of here, we only need the one function and we'll call it interact with. You can of course go ahead and create more if you need, but that's all we need here. So let's compile and save. Next, we'll go ahead and create a trace channel for our player so we can overlap with our environment. So we'll go to third person, blueprints, and our third person character. Now in here, we'll go and create a function called interaction trace. And over here, we'll get a sphere trace by channel. Sphere trace by channel. That's what we want. And for the start and end position, since I'm using third person character, we can just do get actor location. And I'm going to make this a sphere around the player. So plug this into the start and the end values. Now for the radius, it's up to you. I'll do something like 150 units. And here's the trace channel where it comes into play. So select your interactive trace channel. And now if you don't have this, simply recompile your blueprint and then you should see it. So we'll do trace channel interactive, and we can also do this for testing purposes for one frame. Now you don't have to, but I'll just show you how this looks like. Out of the return value, we'll do a branch and we want to check if we hit something. So out hit, we'll do a break. And another thing we want to do is check if our hit actor implements our blueprint interface. So we'll do does implement interface and we'll select our BPI interaction. Now in this case, we want them to do that. So we'll do a branch. And if they do implement it, we'll promote this to a variable, promote to variable, and let's call it the target actor or lookat actor, whichever you prefer. And I'll just reroute this so we see it more cleanly. Now, if this is false, we'll set it to be nothing, and we'll also set it to be nothing here. And that's all we have to do. So let's compile that. And in our event graph, we'll create something called a custom event, and we'll name it begin interaction. And this is the event we'll call on our begin play. So from here, we'll do a set timer by event. And in here, we'll do a custom event again. Update interaction. And this event will call our interaction trace. Now for this, I find a value of 0.2 to work really well, and we'll do looping to be true. Now on event begin play, in here you can either add a sequence if you wish, or you can do it at the very end, which is what I'm going to do. So we'll grab our begin interaction and plug it in there. Let's compile and save and see how this looks like in our game. We can see it working and it's doing this trace every 0.2 of a second. Next, we'll go ahead and create our lights material. So let's go to the content drawer and create a new folder for our lights. so-called.lights, and inside of here we'll create another folder which will be our materials. And inside here we'll create a material like this, calling it M for master underscore, let's say glow underscore base. And this will be our parent for all of our materials. Now in here we want to grab a, let's press 4 on the keyboard and left mouse. This will get you a constant 4 vector. And if we right click on this, we can convert this to a parameter. And let's give it the name of color, like so. And we can also do this with our 1 key on the keyboard. So press 1 left mouse and we'll get a scalar parameter if we convert it. There we are. And let's call this the glow strength. There we go. And with that, you want these values to be 1 and this you want to be turned on all the way. So turn it on to white or whatever color you want. We'll do white and we can change the colors later. So if you do white, that's kind of good. And we'll do a M left mouse to get a multiply node. Plug that into here. Plug this into the B value and then out value will go to our emissive color. And there we have it. That's our glowing material. So let's apply and save. Now, if we close this down, we can actually right click on this and create few material instances. So let's do that. We'll call it glow blue. We can change this to blue now. So if you open up these parameters, turning them on, we can change the glow strength to, let's say 10 even. And on the white, we can make it blue like that. And that's one color done. Now you can create as many of these as you want. I'm going to duplicate the child, not the parent again, the child. Let's do something like red. And we'll change this to a reddish color, something like that. Save it. And let's do one more, making maybe green. And let's change this to our green color, something like that. I like. Okay, so that's our colors out of the way. Next, we'll go ahead and create our lights. So let's go to our content drawer. And in our lights folder, we'll create a blueprint class actor. And let's call it BP underscore light. Now in here, we want to add a static mesh. Now this can be whatever you want. For myself, I'll be using a gravestone, which will make look like a door. Gravestone, that's the one. And if we compile this, we can see our materials on the right hand side. Now for this, I'll be changing element 1. So this is important that you know which number corresponds to which material. So we want element 1. Now for the size, I'll do 2 to make it look more like a door. And in our event graph, we can create a custom event, color blue, for example. And if we grab our static mesh, we can set material and we can put that element 1 into there. Now for the material, we can select any of our materials we made. So if we type in glow, you could even do the parent class if you want, but we'll do blue. We can duplicate this event to maybe color black. Now black doesn't emit any light, so that means it's going to be turned off. Now I'll show you how to create the material black, but I'll just be using the basic stone for it. So let's type in gravestone. So it just goes back to the original and I want the one instance there. But if you did want to have black in your colors, we'll go to materials, create a new material, and we'll do M underscore color underscore base. And in here, we'll grab a press 4 and left mouse to get your constant, and we'll do promote to parameter or convert to parameter, calling it color. And we'll grab our scalar parameter. Or you can press 1 on your keyboard if you wish. And let's call this brightness. And we'll set this to 1 and we'll set this to white. With that, we'll get our multiply node. So press M left mouse. This goes to A, this goes to B, and this goes to the base color. And that's our color done. So let's apply and save it. And then in here, we can create a materials instance. Let's do color black. And if we go inside, take these on, and boom, we get our black color. And now you can use this for your materials in here. With that, we'll also go ahead and change this to a random color. So we'll do copy paste And if you wanted to set this to a random color, I'll just rename that to random color, if I can spell random color. And in here, we'll have an array. So let's go ahead and create that color array. And we'll do material instance is what we want. We want the object reference. And let's make this into an array. And if we compile, we can add as many light sources as we want. So let's do glow green, we can do glow red, and let's also do glow blue. Okay, and now we'll get this and we'll do a random array item. So it's going to get a random one for us. Right, so let's compile and save that. And next we'll go ahead and create the light switch, which can call these events. So back again in our lights folder, we'll create another blueprint class, actor, and let's call this bp_light switch. So inside of here, we can do a static mesh, and this will be our light kind of base. So I'll do a square, and for the size, I'll do like 0.2 overall, and maybe for the back, I'll do 0.1 here. Okay, so that's one. We'll add a second static mesh here, like so. I'll rename it to second mesh. And we'll do a square again. And we want it, drag it into our static mesh there, which it was. Oh, for the size, we'll do not 5, but maybe 0.4, let's say. Paste that along. And how does it look? It looks nice to me. So we'll drag it out and we'll rotate it to 90 degrees, let's say. And maybe change this to 5, like this. And maybe not, maybe 1. Something like that. Now, whenever we turn the switch on, if I turn rotation on as well, we can select this and this will turn off and on. So we can see on the x-axis, this is 60. Let's say this is 120. So depending what you want, you can set that too. Now, with knowing what the values are, 60 and 120, we can select this second mesh and go to the event graph. And let's create a custom event once again, calling this turn off, on and off, let's say. In here, we want to add a timeline. So add timeline. This will be our switch timeline. And if we double click inside, now my switch, I want this to turn on kind of quickly. So I'll do 0.5, so half a second. Click track, add a float track. And if we right click, we'll add a key to curve float. Now for the time, this is the start. So we'll do 0, press enter. And for the value 0, hit enter. Right click once again, add key to curve float. Now the time is half a second. So we'll do 0.5. And the value you want is to be 1. So it's at its full potential right there. Compile that. And if we exit of the timeline, we can do a Boolean to see is on. And we will get this, put that into a branch. So if the light, let's say, is not Boolean, we'll do a not. Like so. So if it's not true, well, then we want to turn it on. So this will go to play. And vice versa, if it's on, we'll go to reverse. On the update, we then want to grab our lerp. And if you hold Control and left mouse, we can drag that into our alpha channel. Now, these values here were 60 and 120, if you remember. So I'm getting these values from here. By rotating this, I can see what this is going to be. So we'll do 60 as default. So when we come to it, we can turn it on. And with that, we'll grab our second mesh because that's the one we're animating. And we'll do set relative rotation. And this were in the X channel. So once again, the X channel here. So in the event graph, plug that into your X. This goes to update. And from here, we can, there's 3 methods we can use. So I'll show you the first method. if we go to our game mode, because our game mode is going to know about this as we start the level. So we'll go to third person, blueprints, third person game mode. On the begin play event, we can get all actors of class. So essentially we are getting all the lights that are available to us. So type in BP light and we'll promote this to a variable, setting it. So we'll call this lights. And back in our light switch here, we can cast to that third person game mode. So we'll do get game mode and we'll do cast to game mode, or third person game mode rather, like so. And this third person game mode knows about all of our lights. So we can do lights. And for each loop, we can set the colors. So if we get our is on and do a branch. So if the light is on, we can call from here and do blue, color blue. And let's say if the light is off, we'll do color black because the light is off, like so. So to test this, we need to add a interaction channel to this first. So type in BPI interaction. And whenever we interact with this, we'll go here and do interact with, and we'll do, we'll call this event here, turn on and off. So in our event graph, grab that here, like so. Now our player doesn't have any way to interact with this just yet because we've created the interaction sphere, but never added the input for it. So I'll go ahead and create an input real quick. Input actions, do a input action, and we'll call this interact, IA_interact. Save it, go to your IMC default, create a new mapping for our interact. Now I'll have this on my E key, but you do whatever makes you happy. Save it, and back in here, in our third person character, we'll call this input action. And first of all, we'll get this and we'll make sure it's a validated target. So it's a valid light source. And if it is, we'll do interact with, and we want message. Message simply means if they don't implement it, nothing will happen, but we know what they do because we've promoted it in our interaction trace if they do implement it. So with that, the last thing to do is to add our doors and our switches to the level. So we'll go to our lights, add our light source or our light switch on the wall there. That's looking beautiful. And we'll add a door or two. So let's do one here, and one here. And if I hit play, we still see this trace channel. We can disable it. If we interact with something that does overlap this event, which I forgot to do. So select this light switch, go back into it, Control E, little shortcut. We wanted to block the trace channel we made, which I forgot to add. So select either first or second mesh, go to collision and do custom collision. And we want to block this interactive trace channel. Now, when we do, this sphere you've seen will turn green because it overlaps something and it knows about it. So if we press E, light turns on, and that's about it. Let's see why that is. We are checking if this is on. That's correct. One little mistake. Once we do check if it's on or off, we should set this whatever it's meant to be. So we'll do set true, and we'll do set false. So now if we go ahead and play this, the lights should also work. So we go here, boom, they work and they turn off. So that's our first way of doing things. Now I'll quickly go ahead and disable this trace channel so we don't see it. And none, compile that. And in here on our light switch, instead of doing this for all of our lights, rather, what we can do is we can create a new variable, which will be a reference to our lights. So let's call it our light or lights, whichever you like, and type in BP_light, and we'll do a object reference. And we want this to be instance editable. So compile and save, and we can tick these on, or even just the instance editable will do enough. So with that, we'll get this. We'll make sure it's a validated get. And if it is, we then will do the same thing. We'll do color and we'll do blue and we'll do color. We can do black. Now, we first also want to check if the light is on or off. So let's go ahead and do that. If the light is on, we'll have blue. If it's off, we'll have black. Compile and save. And if we go back to our level, select the light. In here, we can select which light we want. So let's say we want the toward door, which should be this one here. Save it and go and hit play. We should get just that one door turning off and on. Beautiful. Now, let's say you wanted multiple lights and of your selection. Instead of just having this, we can go ahead and turn this into an array, change variable type, hit accept. And after it changes, this will give you an error. So refresh it and do a for each loop and just smack that right into here. Everything else can stay the same. Just make sure you connect the array element where it's supposed to go. Compile and save. Now in here with the lights, we can create multiple of these and select which light we want. So let's say 1 and 2. Compile, save, and only those two will turn off and on. And lastly, if you wanted a random color, we'll go back into our event graph and color blue will replace for our random color. Now this will give us a little issue because if we go and try this out, we can see that our trace triggers this few times. So this is what we get. And we don't really want that. So in order to fix it, in here, we'll do a do once. So O1 left mouse to get the do once event. And we'll do a custom event reset do once or whatever you like to call it. Plug that into there. And this event we can call in here. So when we interact with it, we'll do reset do once. And this should work great. So let's compile and save and see how this looks like. We have our doors, we have our switch, and we get random colors. All right. So this is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And as always, happy developing.